the Music Theory Lady. Hi guys, welcome back to the Music Theory Lady. Today we're talking scale degrees, and we're talking scale degrees specifically in major keys. So scale degrees is a way of referring to each note of a scale. So we're going to start with a nice spaced out C major scale. Okay, and then we're going to label each one of these with a number. So this is what we call scale steps. And if you notice above each one of these numbers, I'm placing this tiny little arrow type thing that's actually called a caret. C-A-R-E-T, a caret. And that caret, when you see it above a number, is simply showing you that that is a scale step number. You see this kind of thing on the AP exam a lot. There's a lot of numbers when it comes to music, believe it or not, when it comes to scale steps and intervals and chords and all that kind of thing. So we have a way of differentiating different topics in music by how we show their numbers. So when it comes to scale steps, we're going to show those scale steps with a caret on top so that you know that number as separate from an interval or a chord number or all those kinds of things. So anytime that we're talking about scale step numbers, make sure you're drawing those carets on top. But then also each one of these notes has a name. We've talked about the first name. The first name is called tonic. And its matching friend down here is also called tonic. It is the absolute most important note in the scale. It's the most stable. It feels the best. You definitely want to end a piece on tonic. It just makes everything sort of wrap up nicely. So tonic is probably your most important note in the scale. The second most important note would be the fifth note, and that one is called the dominant. So dominant is called 5 in music. And it's probably the second most important because it creates quite a bit of tension away from tonic, but in a pleasing way to the ear. There are plenty of songs out there that just go back and forth between 1 and 5. If you were to build chords off of those notes, a lot of pieces are between those 1 and 5 chords over and over and over. And then also the third most important note that's also included in those typical chord songs that you hear all the time would be this fourth note. It's called the subdominant. Okay, and sub means below, and I know it seems like it's an easy thing to remember that subdominant is just below dominant, but that's not actually why it gets the name subdominant. Dominant is 5 above tonic, and subdominant is actually 5 below tonic. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's dominant. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the subdominant. So subdominant actually gets its name because it is the dominant below tonic. It's 5 below. Remember, 5 means dominant. So if we're talking about the 5 above, that's dominant. If we're talking about 5 below, it's subdominant. We'll also talk about mediant. So this third one is called the mediant. If you think about it, it's sort of equidistant between the tonic and the dominant, so it's sort of the middle. It's kind of what mediant means there. So mediant. And the 6 is called submediant. And just like subdominant gets its name because it's 5 below tonic, submediant gets its name because it is directly in between tonic and subdominant, just like mediant is directly between tonic and dominant. You can also think of mediant as 3 above tonic and submediant as 3 below tonic. So remember, yes, sub means below, but you have to know it's sort of really above and around, above and below tonic, as opposed to the way that I'm showing it here where it goes from tonic to tonic. Then we've got a couple more. 2 is called Supertonic, not because it's a superhero or anything, but because super means above, so it's the above tonic note. And then this one here, and I'm going to pull this down so you can see it a little bit clearer, is called leading tone. It's called the leading tone. And one thing you need to know about the leading tone is it is always 1/2 step below tonic. No matter what scale it is that we're talking about, the leading tone will always be 1/2 step below tonic. And these scale degree names are the same for all major scales. So even if I built this major scale, if I built G major or B flat major or A flat major or F sharp major, the first note of that scale would always be tonic, the second would be supertonic, the third would be mediant, fourth would be subdominant, fifth would be dominant, sixth would be submediant, seven would be leading tone, and of course that very top note would be tonic again. So it goes for all major scales. Which brings us to how can you find scale degree names within? This is really more practice for my students. So if you're not a student of mine, this is probably not for you, but we're going to talk about how can you find these scale steps or these scale degrees within a given scale. So let me give you an example. Okay, so we're going to do one in A flat, and I'm going to give you a name of a scale degree, and it's your job to draw in what that scale degree is on the staff. So if I'm in the key of A flat and I'm asking for the mediant, yes, you could easily look at your rapid fire scale sheet. Yes, you could easily look up major scales online, but that's not actually building the skills that you need to be able to find these scale degrees. So the skills that you need would be to really just go through the process of building your major scales. In the past, on tests and things like that, I've had my students sort of have a scratch sheet of paper, and they go ahead and build out the formula for a major scale, and then they'll put the scale degrees in between those, just like that. And then this is sort of like the chart that they go off of at the top. They don't touch this or change this all the way throughout. And the reason I put the steps in between the scale step numbers is, if you think about it, it's a whole step from tonic to supertonic. A whole step from supertonic to mediant, so on and so forth. So if I have to build the A flat major scale, underneath the 1 column, I'm going to put A flat, go up a whole step to B flat, go up a whole step to C, and I know mediant is the 3rd scale step, so I can stop there and go ahead and fill in C. Let's do another one. Let's do the key of D, and I want the submediant. So if you happen to know the scale of D off the top of your head, that's okay. If you're using the rapid fire scale sheet to do this, that's not okay. So let's do scale step 1. We'll put D. 2 is E, and I'm trying to find the submediant, which is F sharp. Half step up is G, whole step up is A, whole step up is B, whole step up is C sharp. Oh, and I've actually gone too far because 6 is what I needed. 6 is the submediant, so I know that's B, so I can go ahead and fill in B. I could have actually done this a different way though on this chart. Because I know that I have a 1 here and a 1 here, I didn't necessarily have to build the entire scale from the bottom up. I could have started on this side with the key name as 1, and then gone down a half step, which would get me C sharp, and gone down a whole step, which would have gotten me B. So I could have actually just started at that end. Let's do the key of G flat, and I want to do the dominant in G flat. So again, G flat is the tonic, and really I can go either way. I can either try and find whole, whole, half, whole, or I can just go half, whole, whole. Since this way is technically shorter, I'm going to go this way instead. So I'm going to go a half step down from G flat, which is F, and a whole step down from F, which is E flat, and a whole step down from E flat, which is D flat. So that tells me this is D flat. So again, my process for doing it is really just building the scale, but only the part of the scale that I need to get to the answer that I need. Let's do one, for instance, in the key of G, and let's say I want the leading tone. This is where, remembering what I said earlier about the leading tone is always 1 half step below tonic, makes this easy because I don't really have to do much work other than fill in 1 half step below tonic. I don't really even have to look at my chart and do all the figuring to do that, because I know it's always going to be a half step below tonic. I will warn you, remember we're dealing with scales, and we talked about scales have to be alphabetical. There has to be 1 of every letter. So I can't just say G down a half step is G flat, because there is no G flat in the key of G. I need to have 1 of every letter. So I have to not only go back a half step, but go back a full letter to be able to find the correct answer. Let's do just a couple more. Let's do the key of E, and let's do its subdominant. Okay, so in the key of E, I'm trying to find 4, which is subdominant. I've decided that's going to go faster from the left side, so I'm going to do that. E up a whole step is F sharp. F sharp up a whole step is G sharp. And G sharp up a half step would be A. So the answer there is A. Okay, last one. Let's do the key of B flat. And let's do supertonic. Supertonic in the key of B flat. Remember, I could start here or here, but supertonic is 2, so I'm going to start from the left side. B flat up a whole step is C. So the answer there would be C. And it doesn't really matter what C I put it on, just as long as I have it on a C, because C is the supertonic of B flat. And that's it for scale degrees today. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.